So, welcome to Online Yoga and Wellness. This is a 30-minute class. It's going to be a little bit of a hatha flow. So, we are going to be stretching this morning our hips and our lower back. If throughout the class you feel any pain or discomfort, please relieve yourself from the position. You can return to child's pose or just seated with your legs crossed. And then join back in when you feel ready or comfortable to. If you are a beginner practicing yoga, just making sure to listen to your body and its limitations in terms of how deep you go into the stretch. I will be advising a beginner's stretch and then talking through an advanced movement if you would like to progress further. It's also something that if you've been a beginner for a little while, you can start looking at the more advanced poses. So today we're going to start on our mats, lying on our backs. So as we do this, we can keep the knees bent, arms out in front, gently uncurling the spine, laying down on the mat. So we're going to tuck the shoulder blades down the back here, and we're going to walk the feet in nice and close to our sit bones. We're going to step into the heels and lift the hips up to the ceiling into a bridge. You can keep the hands on the mat, taking in a deep breath, and as you exhale, uncurling the spine. As you do, uncurling it vertebrae by vertebrae. Finally, dropping the tailbone down to the mat. We're going to step into the heels again as we inhale. This time we're going to take our arms up and over our head. Breathing in and exhale, lowering the hips and the arms back down to the mat. Stepping into the feet, inhaling the hips and arms up and overhead. And exhale, lowering down. We're going to do 5 more of these poses. Breathing in. You can start to follow your own breath. Lifting the hips up as you breathe in and lowering them down as you exhale. Warming up the spine, warming up the hips and activating the glutes. Keeping the shoulder blades down the back. And then once you've finished your 5 movements, returning everything back down to the mat, we're going to walk the feet out to the left and right edges of the mat. So separating the feet, keeping the knees bent still, placing the hands back down onto the mat. We're going to gently drop the knees to the left as far as you can go. And then on your next in-breath, taking them over to the right. Exhale, holding the knees to the right. Inhale, lifting them up and over to the left. Exhale, holding here. Inhale, taking them back to the right. Exhale, holding. Inhale, back to the left. And exhale, holding. So continue with these movements. Throughout this, we're going to be connecting our body to the breath. It's also a good idea to connect the mind to the body and the breath, so allowing the mind to drop out of the head, to release any thoughts that you've brought with you to the mat today. You can exhale them, allowing them to float away, or just imagining them dissolve as you start connecting to the body, noticing what you can feel, noticing what the body's telling you this morning. 2 more movements here. And then bringing the knees back up to center, tucking the knees into the chest, placing the hands on the knees. We're going to gently circle the knees in big movements, releasing through the lower back and the hips, and then back in the opposite direction. And then back to center. Lifting the head here, tucking up into a nice tight ball. We're going to gently roll forwards and back until we come up to a seated position. If you need to here, you can use your hands to help you come up to a seated position. We're going to walk the legs out in front, bending and straightening the ankles and the knees. So you can give a nice little shoulder roll here as well, opening through the shoulders and through the chest. And then we're going to straighten through both legs, drawing the toes back towards you. Taking a deep breath in, opening through the chest, and then we're going to slowly walk the hands down the legs towards the toes as we fold forward. So you can stop at any point in time as far as you can stretch. So if you can only stretch to holding your shins, just holding here. Taking a couple of breaths here. So breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, deepening the stretch as you exhale. Feeling the belly expand and the chest lift as you breathe in, and as you exhale, allowing the weight of the body to collapse over the legs. Just allowing that upper body to surrender to gravity here. One more breath here. And then slowly walking the hands back up the legs, lifting up through the chest. We're going to bend through the right knee, placing the right foot at the base of the spine. And so here you can take the left leg out to a 45-degree angle, sitting up through the chest, lifting up nice and tall. We're going to take the left hand to the right knee, the right hand behind the body, lifting up through the chest and twisting. Rolling the shoulder blades down the back and imagining a piece of string from the tailbone through the spine, crown of the head, lifting you up even taller. And then twisting back to center. Inhaling the hands up to the ceiling and exhale, folding forward. So we're not reaching towards the left toes here. We're folding over the hips with the left foot out in a 45-degree angle. Keeping the sit bones on the mat, dropping the chin to the chest, trying to drop those elbows down towards the mat. Keep drawing the left toes back towards you. Using that breath one more time to deepen the stretch here. And then gently releasing and walking the hands over towards the left foot. If you can't reach the left foot, that's okay, just holding the shin. So we want to reach both hands towards the left foot here. So by reaching the right hand across the body towards the left toes, we begin to stretch down the lower back on the right side. It's a slight twist, using the breath here a couple of times to drop the body down towards the leg. One more breath. And then slowly lifting up. Here we're going to cartwheel the arms. So up and over, placing the right hand behind the right hip. We're going to lean forward, lifting the hips up to the ceiling, arching through the back, taking the left hand up and overhead, pointing the left toes. And then sweeping forward, reaching for the toes, leaning forward again. So we're rotating on that right hip. So inhale to cartwheel and lift. Breathing in, expanding through the chest, arching slightly through the back. And exhale, sweeping forward, reaching for the toes. And one more, breathing in, cartwheeling the arms, lift the hips. And exhale, sweeping forward, reaching for the toes. And then slowly walking the hands up the leg, coming back up to center. We're going to bend through the left knee here. You can either place it in front of the right or on top of the right. If you choose to place the left knee on top of the right and your left knee is raised up a little bit, you can place a pillow underneath the knee. Otherwise, you can just settle, lifting up through the chest, rolling the shoulders up and down the back. Taking a deep breath in, pushing that belly button forward, tilting the pelvis. And then exhale, walking the hands out in front. We're going to try and drop those elbows down towards the mat, keeping the sit bones on the mat. You can drop the chin to the chest. Taking in a few deep breaths as you actively fold forward. One more breath here. And then slowly walking the hands back towards you and extending through the left leg. So here, if you like, you can bend and straighten through the left knee and the left ankle. You can gently massage the right thigh. Might get a bit stiff as we were sitting underneath it for a little while. And then drawing the left foot to the base of the spine, lifting up through the chest. We're going to take the right hand to the left knee, the left hand behind the body, twisting and looking behind. Shoulder blades down the back. Imagining that piece of string lifting you taller. And then inhaling to center. So lifting up through the chest here, taking a breath in. You're going to raise the hands up to the ceiling and exhale, folding forward. So keeping the sit bones on the mat, we're going to drop the elbows down, deepening the stretch over the hips. So we're leaning forward, remembering that the right foot's out on a 45-degree angle. Deepening the stretch, actively folding forward. So you might feel the stretch in the left hip or in the right hamstring, remembering to draw those right toes back towards you. One more breath here. And then gently releasing the stretch and walking the hands over towards the right foot. So here, making sure to take the left hand across the right side of the body to stretch through the lower back on the left. Taking in a couple of breaths here, deepening the stretch, folding the chest a little closer to the legs with each out breath. One more breath here. And then gently relieving the stretch. We're now going to cartwheel the arms, placing the left hand behind the left hip, lifting up through the hips, taking the right hand up and over the body. Arching through the back, breathing in, and exhale, sweeping the arm forward and towards the toes. Folding a little deeper. On your next in-breath, cartwheeling the arms, lift the hips, breathing in, expanding through the chest, and exhale, sweeping forward, reaching for the right toes, folding a little deeper. And once more, cartwheeling the arms, lift the hips, and exhale, sweeping forward, reaching for the toes. Relieving the stretch, gently walking the hands up the leg until you come up to a seated position. We're now going to fold through the right leg, placing it either in front of or on top of the left. Sitting up nice and tall. Rolling the shoulders up and down the back, pushing the belly button forward, rotating the hips. Sitting up nice and tall. On your next in-breath, inhaling the arms up to the ceiling and exhale, folding forward. Dropping the elbows down towards the mat. You might like to swing the upper body left and right as you settle over the hips, making sure the sit bones stay back firm on the mat. One more breath here, deepening the stretch, allowing the upper body to surrender to gravity as you exhale. And then slowly walking the hands back towards the legs as you lift up through the chest. We are going to straighten through both legs, bending and straightening through the knees and the ankles. You can give both of them a little massage, the calves, the thighs, the hamstrings. You can also bend through the knees and take them from side to side, releasing through the hips. And then we're going to tuck the feet to one side and come over into tabletop. So tabletop is one of our foundational poses. We want to make sure that the wrists are over underneath the shoulders and that the knees are underneath the hips. We want to make sure that the hands are spread nice and wide and they're shoulder width apart. We want to make sure the knees are hip width apart. So here we're going to roll the shoulders down the back, lengthening through the spine, keeping it nice and neutral. We're going to sit back over the heels, and then we're going to circle the hips. We're going to start to lean forward to the left until we come all the way forward into center, and then to right as we sit back towards the heels. So nice big circles. Weight bearing on the wrists, opening up through the hips. You might like to take a breath in as you lean forward and then exhale as you breathe and sit back. And then we're going to go back in the opposite direction, leaning to the right and forward, and then to the left and back. Feeling the hips, the spine. One more. And then gently sitting back over the heels. We're going to take the knees out as wide as the mat. Walk the hands out in front as we drop the chest down to the mat in child's pose. So you can drop the forehead down to the mat, trying to relax the shoulders, relieve any of the weight that's being held on the elbows, and just allowing the body to collapse forward. As you take in a few breaths, allowing the hips to settle over the heels, stretching through them. If you like, you can separate them a little bit further. Just going as far as you can go. And then we're going to inhale back up to tabletop, drawing the knees in hip width apart. Stepping the left foot to the outside of the left hand. So if you can't, just step the foot up. If you need to, you can lean up and walk the foot up next to the left hand. So we want to make sure it's on the outside. So we're going to press the hips forward here. Then taking in a deep breath, leaning back, and exhale, pressing forward. Inhale to come back, and exhale, pressing forward. 2 more times. Stretching through the hips. Pressing forward and holding here. Shoulder blades down the back. We're going to step our hands up onto the left knee, lifting up through the chest. We're going to keep pushing the hips forward. So an option here, so if you're a beginner, you can stay in this pose. An advanced option is to bend through the right leg, taking the right hand to the right foot. So it deepens the stretch through the abductors and through the hip flexors. Releasing the foot and then stepping both hands back down to the mat. Stepping the left foot back, placing the knee on the mat in tabletop. You can gently move the hips from side to side here. Just releasing. And then we're going to step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. We can push forward here and then inhale, leaning back, and exhale, pushing forward. So as we push forward, we want to make sure that the knee doesn't go over the toes. And inhale, leaning back, exhale, pressing forward, opening through the hip. Once more. Pressing forward here, shoulder blades down the back. Deepening the stretch through the hips. And then stepping the hands up onto the right knee, pushing forward. So an option to stay here or to bend through the left leg, taking the left hand to the left foot. So it stretches through this hip flexor just here as well. Pressing forward. And releasing the foot, stepping both hands back down onto the mat. And stepping the right foot back, placing the knee into tabletop. Gently moving through the hips here. Now we're going to cross the ankles and sit back onto the mat. Finding the center of the mat, knees bent, we're going to slowly uncurl the spine. Placing the hands down by your sides, shoulder blades down the back. Bending the knees, walking the feet in nice and close to the sit bones. We're going to take the right foot onto the left knee. We're going to push the right knee away. If this is a deep enough stretch for you here, you can remain here. Otherwise, you can draw in the left hamstring or shin. So hamstring holding here, shin holding here. But we're wanting to make sure that our shoulders, neck, and head remain on the mat. If you'd like to deepen the stretch, but are finding that your head's up here, you can place a pillow underneath the hips to elevate the hips to make sure that the shoulders and head and neck stay on the mat. So you can flex both feet here, pulling the toes back. Taking in a couple of breaths, drawing the knees in a little closer as you exhale. And then gently releasing, placing the foot back onto the mat, placing the right foot onto the mat. Shoulder blades down the back, walking the feet in nice and close again. This time placing the left ankle onto the right knee. So pushing the left knee away, an option to rest here or to draw in the right hamstring or shin. Flexing both feet, pulling the knees in nice and close. Taking in a few breaths. You should feel the stretch here from the hip down the outside of the leg towards the knee. You might also feel it a little bit in the hip flexor, but it should mostly be on the outside of that leg. So taking in a few deep breaths, pulling those knees in a little closer. And then gently releasing. Placing both feet back onto the mat. Walking the feet in close to the sit bones and then out to the left and right edges of the mat to go back to the pose we did initially, where we drop the knees to the left. Inhale them up and over to the right. Exhale, hold. Inhaling up and left. And exhale, hold. Inhaling them up and right. Exhale, hold, and hold them here for one more breath. And then inhaling them up and to the left and holding them for one more breath. And inhaling them up to center. You can use your hands to help you come up to a seated position, or you can tuck the knees into the chest, tucking the chin, rolling back up to a seated position, and folding the legs in front. And so that concludes our 30-minute lower back and hip stretch. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the mat this morning. Namaste. How did you guys find it?
I could feel that through my hips. That was good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate. Yes, that was
all right. It's a bit different than in the studio, isn't it?
Well, it's nice not to wear a mask.